as Reyna, Chemicals not playing as Jet here, playing as Raze. And then they've got a Sage in the mix as well. We'll see Sage on both sides, but we will not see that Reyna play. We'll see the Jet instead. And obviously Shazam feeling comfortable in that position. They'll be grabbing Orb Control and B main to kick things off. You can see a ton of utility laid down on B by Nature. There's a turret in the corner as well as some nano swarms down on the site to prevent that push. Oh, that nade was perfect. It was right in the belly of Shazam, but Shazam jumps up and with the frenzy able to finish off Chemicals. And due to the fact that they have a Sage, there's a heal that can come through and can patch up that player. So now it really all lands on Nature's shoulders. There's a dark cover coming in from Spawn to try and help slow things down, but Nature's got to go big here.
That nano swarm is going to come out as soon as the alarm bot gets spotted too, as it rings the alarm for a couple of players moving forward. Nature's playing the backside. Now a big paranoia as Nature gets the first kill onto Sinatra. So they even things up on a 4-4, but he's stuck in the back. He still manages to get a second one before he eventually gets dropped by Sick. But Gangsta's already rotated. It's a 2 versus 1. Immortals on the disadvantage as Dapper lands the last kill. And that's, Mark, 9 frenzies out of 10 in this round. There was only Chemicals that didn't have a frenzy because he wanted to invest into a boom bot to make sure and scout down towards that mid side. It worked out to slow down Sentinels, maybe slow creep up towards mid side, but in the end, when the explosion comes into the site at B, the frenzies just ring true.
It's important to note that this is the only map you will see Gangsta play a role other than Sova. Gangsta going to Sage here, it's not something we typically see, as he's probably one of the more static role players on that roster outside of JC Stanny, who always plays Omen. In fact, I don't remember the last time that JC Stanny didn't play Omen. It's been a long time since looking at even that old roster, the original roster with Dicey and Asuna.
Here.
So Mortals lose the pistol. Sentinels gets off to a great start. Recent changes, it's still a little early on to determine whether or not those changes have really helped balance out the map more, or if we're still going to see a heavy defensive side. We'll have to see how the game's slowly developed. Shazam in mid spots, shot up coming up top ropes. And now they've got to deal with Nature, who's on the ramp. It really wasn't difficult to deal with him at all. There was players coming in on both sides as well. Shazam has a potential lineup on players coming through from spawn as JC Stani here's the reload. Can't get there in time with the classics. Immortals is going into this with a full save. Sentinels should easily close out the remainder of the players for INT, and they'll get that spike plant as well to guarantee that things are going to be nice and simple for them.
Definitely. You have nothing but classics into this round. You want to make sure you have enough firepower going into the next. Leaving even Sentinels on a flawless in this round means that they're probably going to keep their submachine rifles too, which technically gives them the advantage. But what I do like for Sentinels from the way they've been playing this map is really combining Sinatra and Sick on that B-side control. Very often you have an early slow orb towards B main. Sometimes it gets matched up with paint shells being thrown by Sinatra too, just to push the defense back from Gangstar on B. Then of course, it's the old signature of Dapper trying to run down that utility on the A side ramp. It pays off in their side, take that mid control, and eventually split on A or B, depending where the pick is. And Gangsta is trying to switch things up. He puts a wall, a self boost, does a bit of damage, he eats some himself. And he manages to fall back with a heal, but that's a big wall already out of the way.
Yeah, that's a lot of utility spent early on by their Sage. There was slow orb coming down the wall. The heal is used as well. All that for an attempted early advantage that they ultimately get, but not because of their own work. It's because of an aggressive push that comes through. Shazam equalizes the score as a nade lands in his flat. He has to use the tailwind to get away, but Chemicals is there with the lineup. JC Stanny working their way back through mid. Sitting at the bottom of ropes right now, there's one currently on the other side. It's Dapper, who's currently just hanging out, sitting at the top of ropes. Again, because Sentinels won that last round so easily, a flawless victory, this is a bonus round. So Immortals needs to survive with a lot of players remaining to get that cash built up. I like the utility currently utilized by Killjoy, sitting at the bottom of ropes, trying to make things a little bit more difficult. Nature is staying mobile. We saw Killjoy playing towards B early on, now playing towards ropes. That's been the success story for a lot of players who play as Killjoy on the map. As I say that, though, Chemicals is taken out. Rez is going to come through very early on, mind you. That's a third-round Rez coming out from Sick. So illustrating orb control currently for Sentinels, who have reduced it down to 1. The only player left alive is Nature across the map. Again, we talked about Killjoy being mobile. Unfortunately, in this instance, doesn't really help them out as they did decide to go back to that B site. The defense just wasn't strong enough.
Yeah, you could still count in onto Nature to be able to try to clutch this one here, though. He's on a 3 versus 1. Now that he got spotted by the camera, could be very early that he's going to decide to maybe save his rifle. Unless he gets a kill in the next 5 seconds, they know exactly where he's at. There's a lot of wall bang going through. He hears an updraft, thinking that maybe Shazam made it up towards that rafter. But you see Shazam through this X-ray. He goes towards that ground, comes back towards the staircase, and is looking to flank. But Chemicals already booked it back and is saving his rifle. This comes into a free upgrade for Shazam towards the B heavens. But it was a good early start for Immortals. Chemicals and their Sage right now, Gangsta, is kind of like a mirror match towards this B main. They have soul orbs, they have the walls, they have paint shells to cover back, and he's able to support as well with the crossfire to get the first few kills. And still being able to play towards that B heaven, he still has the boombot, as I mentioned before, they can throw towards that mid side to get more information here. But as they slowly creep up here for Sentinels, and there's less information now in the hands of Immortals because they gave up that space on mid, it was easier for Sentinels to creep up. And especially now that he already had an early res come out from Sick, it shows how good he's been in the first few rounds.
I do start to get a little bit worried because, again, the roll of the dice was Haven or Split. Which one do we want to play less?
Yeah.
Sentinels being strong on both maps, but really strong on Haven, forced Immortals into a position where they're either going to ban the map they never play or ban the map their opponent plays the most. And ultimately, they went in the other direction. It's another buy round coming in for IMT, though. Actually, excuse me, it's a force coming in from IMT. The buy round from Sentinels. As they laid down an early wall yet again. Sick broke through that pretty quickly. Sinatra is going to take out Gangsta, who is up in heaven. They're shot up with the SMGs, at least proving there's some value to the submachine guns. Zamza's going to drop some smokes on the site as the team is already making it out there. They've got full site control at this point, but there's weapons to be scooped up in mid. They're going to try and go for this retake. And the numbers are actually decent for them, given that you've still got Dapper on this very long lurk through mid.
Good position, though, from Sentinels. Already along the line of pillar, back, site, and B main. Dapper is on that lurk again, and he manages to capitalize with a kill onto Nature, which means now the defense numbers dwindles down on this retake, and it's just perfect positioning now. They didn't expect that Sinatra was going to be on the top of that billboard, and now shot up. The only kill that he got chimes in with the second one with the Vandal that he picked up, but that's going to end it there. Pretty decent. Immortals at that point had 4 players stacked up on mid just to try to surprise the slow creep that Sentinels been doing. But as Sentinels seems to be aware of that, as they had an open side towards B, just fall back, take the site. Very easy plant, pulse plant situation too. So back to a full gun round for these two teams. But this time we have an op that comes in for Chemicals.
One of the things we have to look at throughout the series is the matchup between Chemicals and Shazam. Shazam, much more a dedicated opper than, say, Chemicals, who will often go favor the rifle a little bit. And that, as I say that, Shazam does have a rifle in hand. Shazam also has the ult available currently. The Bladestorm Chemicals is dropped very early in the round. That op not really worth the value invested. Nice quick shot from Shot Up, but Shazam is there with an immediate trade. And again, early blood being shed here. And it's in favor of Sentinels, who have only lost 1 player. Dapper, who's been on this lurk over on the A site, often coming up late if they go towards B through mid. And it seems like this time they're going to go back towards Dapper. They're going to have to run into all of this utility laid out from Nature. They know the turret's here. They could use a smoke potentially to force that out of position, but never mind. Dapper just comes in with a quick kill onto Nature, and that's all eliminated. The threat is gone. The remaining 2 are spotted out by a neural theft, and the round is over. Gangsta should be saving this op back in spawn. You can see JC Senny setting up at the backside of sewers in mid. They're just trying to hang on to these guns as desperately as they can.
Yeah, and you see how it's aggressive at the beginning just to try to figure out if Sentinels are going to be on a hunt and try to take him down. But after they see that it's a little bit quiet, try to team up on that buddy system. And this is something that, or a concept that we talk about a lot when we're first casting this game, very similar to other tactical shooters, is the buddy system that Sentinels have. 2 players trying to work towards B main, 2 players towards mid, and then you have Dapper just lurking on the A side. Once you take control of these trades that you saw were immediate towards the mid side, and they also got a do-or-die position from Chemicals up on towards B site, then you fall back as a team, you continue as a group, and you continue to play for these trades. Sentinels are very good for this type of positioning to just allow numbers advantage when they come into sites. Now as the round ends though, we're able to save a couple of weapons. They lost 4 players for Sentinels in the process, but with winning 5 rounds in a row, you're okay with losing all of that too. You just wanted to make it more expensive for Immortals on that previous round.
Yeah, Dapper was on max money as well, so a weapon drop can go over to one of his teammates.
Yeah.
The money is definitely solid for some, but not so great for others. Sinatra's down to 200, 1900 for Shazam after the alt purchase. Might actually decide to just go with the alt here. You can see potentially making that decision, but decides to go back to the buy for the op. Actually, that was a drop. So that drop came over from Dapper. They realized, hey, I'm still going to have a ton of money. Might as well let me spend this. And again, we see this opening kill towards B. We have seen that happen almost every single round. I like the dismiss there to get away from the boom bot, so Shot Up can at least get some revenge for his teammate, as Sinatra has dialed in that early kill on B against Gangsta almost every round, it feels like.
Yeah, even how that started on how they were able to retaliate for Immortals. Sick always does that. When he puts that wall up towards that cross, he's always self-boosting at the same time, so he could maybe wide swing onto Heavens. Nice shot by Shazam to pick out Shot Up, but you saw how they tried to hold it back for Immortals. They didn't really have a fight back from B Heaven. They actually fought back from default with 2 players peeking out in that area. They make it an early advantage at the beginning, but after that, losing this player early for Shot Up towards the B Heavens, the control is back at the Sentinels, where they're looking to split into this A side, especially after that pick from Zombs.
Zombs is going to drop into the ropes, has to worry about the alarm bot that's there. That triggers the nano swarm as well. It does look like we're going to see them move towards A in just a moment, or again, it's just Nature here
left.
playing solo. And with them moving in fast and just having an SMG, not really much can be done. The dive into the smoke just in case there's a turret on site, but there isn't. You can see them getting full site control, and Nature can't really do much about this. Now, Nature does have their the lockdown, but I don't think this is the occasion to use it necessarily. You don't have the weaponry to fight. You're at a numbers disadvantage. I think it makes more sense to just try and take a few guns away with that SMG and keep that op in play.
Correct.
Maybe save it for a later round.
Yeah, with a SMG and an op trying to take the site back on a 4 versus 2, even with a lockdown, you make sure that you have to be sure that you're going to be able to land your shots. And so far, with as I mentioned before, Chemicals, he was on top of the billboards 2 rounds ago, where he was trying to get this pick on the early aggression from Sinatra and Sick, as they always do towards his garage on B main. He missed that shot, he got punished. So I think versus his on this 4 versus 2, he doesn't really want to risk that, at least to try to get a couple of frags, because as we mentioned, the economy is still very good here for the attackers of Sentinels, but they bought pretty much all the way down to almost nothing for the defenders on that previous round, which means this one here, the weapons that they save, is going to help a lot into this round to hopefully bring the first point on the scoreboard.
Shazam, 9-3 performance from the Jet All-Star for Sentinels. Dapper, though, 6-0-0, has not died nor gotten an assist.
Forward.
Shazam's been sitting on that ult for a while as well, because he just hasn't really needed it. You know, he's had the op or a rifle in hand, hasn't needed to save it for a save round where the money isn't going to be good, because it is 6-0, and a lot of those rounds have been one-handedly. Multiple players surviving. I think only one round really was a bad one, and all of those kills came post-plant. Like, after the round was already over, those kills came through. Now, here's an aggressive play we haven't seen from them yet. Immortals wants to take a fight inside B main. There's players waiting around the corner. Good leer, but they did line up a couple first, and there's the res coming through. So this is one of the few times that we've seen Immortals in a control position in a round with an advantage. They're going to be moving back over towards A with the spike. A bulk of the defense is currently on B. It's going to have to be a retake unless Nature can do something about this. And you can see them slowly sneaking their way in, trying to get that spike across, but Dapper's made it all the way across site. And Nature's just playing this one passive the way that he should.
Exactly, because they had the lockdown. That's another reason why he wants to play this
Now
passive. But unfortunately, Dapper goes for the lurk through the smoke, and that cancels out the lockdown for the attempt of a retake. Shazam on the top of the A ramp, another to fall, and just like that, in the blink of an eye, it's a 3 versus 3 with the spike planet at the default spot. Can this be doable for a retake? potentially here, because you have ARs coming for the retake for Immortals, and Shut Up is already on the top of Heaven, dropping to Hell. Oh, as Zoms backs up into him, it's just going to be an easier retake. Now, as an open site, the last two lurking on A-Ramp still. Now you force the Blade Storm out. Shazam trying to come across, and he's going to get... Oh, actually, he gets the headshot into Shut Up. Now, as they're trying to defuse, he misses the right click, and the defuse will come in favor of the Immortals to put the first point on the scoreboard. Finally, to get it done.
I actually really like that attempt from Shazam.
Yes.
If there weren't a dark cover there, maybe things work out a little bit differently. Maybe that right click connects. Still not exactly the most perfect round for IMT based on the way that it started. Things could have gone so much better for them, but it all started to fall apart off that lurk. So here's the early round where they go for that 3-player peak. They get the res as well. And Shot Up comes in and drops one. Shazam not able to connect on the right click. Looking for the shots, was unable to find it. So the round is Immortals to take. But even if they win out at this point, 6-6 is not exactly what one would call an ideal half from the defensive side of Split. It's where you needed to see them get off to a great start. This has been anything but. There's the ult being popped, but no, the rocket doesn't come out. As he's shot down out of mid-air by Sick, who is just doing great things here for the squad. Unfortunately for Sentinels, Sick will be watching for the remainder of the round. Shazam tries to squeeze a bullet out over that wall, couldn't quite get the timing right. And Gangsta will survive for the time being.
Still very good for Immortals. You were looking for an answer on this aggression towards the B garage. A 2 versus 2 didn't work. Passive play for retake on B didn't work. Big flank from JC Stani, by the way. But now as they push 3 players, it works out. So that's the second run in a row they do it, using 2 ultimates for 2 rounds in a row. Now they'll have a little bit less to work with as we move into the next round. But before we get into the next round, we still have a Spike Planet for Sentinels on a 1-minute advantage, where again, potential when they reset the economy, and it starts with Dapper. Headshot onto Shot Up, and Sinatra's now running in with that showstopper, looking for his opponent. Cannot, stops the lockdown, and that's a good way to pull out a utility, which means now Immortals has even less moving into the next round, with Nature now moving up on the Raptors.
Yeah, Sinatra was in a great position in Hell there, and that's exactly where he sends Nature. 7-1. Sentinels may have had a brief little hiccup there in the middle. They hit a speed bump, but things have smoothed out, and yet again, the money absolutely terrible right now for IMT. So what do you do when you're in this situation? You can see JC Stanley's got enough to stinger and armor and still have some money left over for the next round for a buy. You've got Chemicals, who's on 3,600. There's a possibility there, but I have a feeling that Chemicals is going to save for an op now that Shazam's brought the op into play. I've seen a lot of people asking this in the chat as well, so I figure I might as well rectify. It is a best of 5 with a 1-map advantage for IMT since they came from the upper bracket.
Correct.
Sentinels coming in from the lower bracket, so IMT starts 1-0, hence the score at the top, despite this being the first match.
I like this.
Here's an aggressive play. I like this too.
Yeah, Satchel Charge, bait it out, try to trade with the low rifles that you have with the stack. Aggressive from Immortals down mid. But now it's still a 4 versus 4. They've given up the B side, which means Sick is now able to take advantage of it. Sinatra is there on the other side of the wall, but JC Stani, the only weapon that was purchased with that Stinger, gets the first frag, but he's down at 8 HP. He could put a smoke story towards B main. That's going to push Sinatra back. They pick up the spike, and they still have a minute to work with. Very well done for Immortals at the beginning.
Shazam throws the op away, favoring the rifle. It's not completely out of play, but wants to have the rifle given that it's 3-on-3, and also doesn't want to give it up and has plenty of money to buy it again. So it's the logic behind just putting that one out of play. There's going to be a heal that comes through. That's actually going to give away his position. There's an audible cue that comes out from that, but it doesn't scare JC Stanley. At least it looked like we were seeing a heal, but he's still sitting low on 8 HP. I thought for a second we got it, but maybe not. Was I wrong there? It looked like when we saw in the third-person camera a heal coming through, but maybe it was just the animation for a potential heal? I'm confused.
If you get hit by something right away, like if it's a wall banger or something, you get stopped. So,
but then even we didn't see, like, it gets stopped, but it doesn't get canceled. It just gets, like, kind of delayed. We didn't see it right there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it just already went through or what. Yeah, he's getting healed, and then he takes the peek, and then it does get canceled. Okay. Thank you for the replay there, observers in production. Confused me for a second.
And even then, the reason also I believe that Shazam threw that operator in the back of the spawn is after they got that initial picks in a fight towards mid side, and they've lost a couple of weapons. Actually, let's talk about it in a bit. We're looking to be very aggressive for Sinatra towards B garage. We already had early pressure from Gangster on B main. The op shot to get rid of the alarm bot too, so they know an op is in this round for Immortals. They know that they had a couple of oppositions too coming in on this B side, where they have 4 players actually from Immortals stacked up in that side, giving up mid completely as Nature was trying to take an off angle. But as they lose this player, they open up the A site, and that is going to be confirmed by the neural theft.
Ult utilized by JC Stanley to get towards elbow. Quickly taken care of by Six. Shot up is in position on the other side of screens, but there's a wall that's gone down from Sage, and he has no choice but to blast through it. Shazam in position, should be able to get a quick kill here on Chemicals, and does. The Odin betrays Sinatra, but it's still a player advantage for Sentinels. The 3-on-2 with the spike planted, and again, who else would you see on the flank other than Dapper? And I don't think they have any reason to believe that this is happening. There's the first kill coming out onto Gangsta. The last player remaining is shot up on site. Empress available, has decided not to use it. It's another round for Sentinels in the books. It's just getting a little bit scary right now. Dapper currently sitting at 12-1-1. Absurd ratio, 14-6 for Shazam as well.
That's a nice pick too. Every single time that Sentinels has been working towards his B main, Immortals have been trying to look for an answer. And now that they finally put an operator in the hands of Shazam, before it was always Dapper just lurking by himself towards A main. Now they work together to take control of A site. And that confirms again, always open sites, because you're putting so many numbers for Immortals onto the B site, it doesn't pay off. Now they go back to a default, this 2-1-2, trying to pressure back versus Shazam and Dapper on the A side. Well, surprise, they're actually focusing back on the B side, where they have more numbers eventually versus this push, especially with Sinatra with the judge. First one to fall is Gangsta, jumping around for the second kill onto Chemicals, and a big dark cover doesn't allow JC Stein to get any kills, and the B side is open just like that for Sentinels.
It feels like Sentinels have really not met much resistance, especially on that B site. The close rounds we've seen have at least seemed to be catered towards A, with some damage that was dealt early in mid. It's a nice paranoia coming out from Zoms, and it's just more of the same thing.
Yeah, the 2 rounds that they got, I think, was the first round where they finally pushed 3 players inside Garage, and they had a res. And they were okay with doing that for Immortals because they had Nature with a lockdown all the way towards the A site. So player weakest site, he falls back. If they take over the A site, they lock down for a retake and play numbers, especially when they had like a 5-on-3 or a 4-on-3. And then the second round that they got was the force buy on mid side when they stacked up 4 players there. But in the end, when it comes down to these full gun rounds, they keep Immortals guessing for Sentinels, and they just take advantage of it every single time. And the weaknesses are done from these picks.
Oh, you really hate to see it. Shazam just gets vertical, and Nature just didn't stand a chance. Shazam with the updraft and the Blade Storm. Unfortunate for Nature, who was trying his best to play defense on this A site. Shot up, at least able to get some revenge for his fallen comrade. Drops in with Empress active, spots out that player immediately there. Shot up, still in position, but Immortals looks like they might close it out here in the first half with a round win they desperately needed. Sinatra is all the way across the map. This time it was his turn to lurk, and it doesn't work out so well. Still, strong half for Sentinels, 9-3 up over Immortals. We're going to throw things to a very quick break. When we come back, we'll see if IMT can bring it back. Stay tuned. A first half that was wrought with problems for Immortals. They now switch to the attacking side, and things might get a little bit trickier for them as Sentinels is up 9-3 off strong performances from Shazam and Dapper. Alex, I mean, obviously they need to win the pistol to kickstart this second half, but what do you want to see Immortals do differently moving into this second half?
I think it's just focus on this one first, because this is going to be do or die. You're going to have 5 frenzies for Sentinels on the defense right now, and Immortals are just sticking together to try to get these trades out. So focus on that. We'll see what happens after. But it's going to be Immortals pushing up on the A ramp. The wall's already coming up. That's going to waste a lot of bullets for the frenzies that they have too for Immortals. So Sentinels doing a good job here to just slow down that aggressive push and reset the aggressiveness that Immortals wants to bring out on the second half.
We haven't really seen a whole lot of this team on Split because this was their perma, throughout this event.
Yeah.
And this is the first we've seen of this roster. So we weren't really sure what to expect when this map came through. And we still don't really know what to expect from them on the attacking side. Maybe things will turn around, look a little bit better for them. Dapper continues in the rampage. They try to dive down into the ropes, and it is just not good at all. They've got a great setup with Dapper, Zoms, and Sinatra. Double-digit rounds right off the bat of the pistol. 16-2 for Dapper, who has been playing so incredibly well. A thorn in their side, constantly on the lurk. And now here on defense is going to feel even more comfortable as Cypher.
But even then, he gets spotted, he gets a first kill. They want to chase him down because they know he's technically on a reload. Baits them into ropes where everybody rotated from Sentinels at that point. They did such a good job for Immortals to bait out so much utility at the beginning. We're talking about smokes, we're talking about a wall. I'm even sure Sinatra threw paint shells when he rotated back from E-Heaven. So what was left for a retake for Sentinels after that if Immortals did decide to rush towards the B site? Pretty much nothing. But they were so focused on using shot up or trying to avenge the kill onto Dapper inside ropes that they just fell into a trap of 2-3 frenzies getting ready to trade off. And that is not a win you could take definitely on such close quarters. And should I say a height opportunity for Sentinels with Immortals dropping into vents too. Height advantage.
Now here we see a force buy come in, but Immortals, they didn't do it off the back of spike placement in round one. They didn't do it off the back of kills either, only taking down one player from the opposing side. But what can you do? Like, you gotta make something happen at this point.
Yeah. You have the satchel charges to try to come in, and that's what they're doing here, and let's see if they can trade it out.
I mean, they're going to be trying to take out Zoms, who's playing on the site. Shot up makes quick work of them. Sick, though, with just a frenzy. Great shooting on that angle hold. Now, the spike will be planted, and it's a 4-on-4. It's a great opportunity for them, but Sinatra came in with the nade, flies into the site as well. Sinatra's going on a rampage. And just like that, they're back in the site. 3 players survive. The defense that should have been strong, they had time to set up the post plant, just completely crumbles as Sinatra goes full Superman and just flies into the site, tape flowing in the wind behind him, and takes out 3.
And that's it. We saw it off screen, but you saw it from the POV of just Sinatra flying through a heaven. And these are highlight reels that he's able to do. We've seen this before, the way he satchel charges into elbow and just sprays everybody down with SMGs, with rifles, anything that you want. He's going with flare into this site. And this is a Sentinels that we know. Just play aggressive, play in their face, which is the play solid Immortals and LG kind of have versus Sentinels too, where they actually won these victories versus the Sentinels team. So I like that they're trying to fight back with the same type of grit, and it's capitalizing for them because every single time we're seeing it. What is the answer that Immortals have for Sentinels? They are trying different things, but every single time, look at this. The first blood usually comes up in favor of Sentinels every single time.
It is important to note that when we saw what their options were, either this or Haven, we knew neither one would work out well to kick off the series for IMT. We ultimately expected Sentinels to take this first map. And I think Immortals maybe expected that a little bit too. This is their perma. They haven't played it once throughout the event. Clearly, they didn't feel great on the map. And what we've seen, it's not like they were hiding anything they didn't want somebody else to see because it's not working out so well for them. That said, they do at least have site control here. It's a 3-on-2. The opportunity is there. They managed to get the spike down, but it's come down to a 1-on-1, and Zoms with the sidearm still able to win it. So despite the numbers advantage, site control as well, spike going down, still not able to hold against Sentinels, who finds round number 12, just 1 away from taking us into map number 2 with a 1-1 tie score.
And weapon advantage too. Think about it, that they won 2 rounds in a row for Sentinels. They had a couple of guys that are still at SMGs. Zoms being one of them on a retake, getting a kill with the Spectre and switching over to a classic to still manage to get the last kill. This is textbook Sentinels of like dominant NA Sentinels that we know. Is this going to continue on through the series? I hope so. And even look at how much confidence that they have. They're bringing in 2 Odins into this round. They're sending a message here, Rock. It's
Yeah.
not like, hey, we're off here and there. It's just like, hey, I mean, there's a rant that came on from Shazam earlier on in the week there that you guys could probably find in the forums. But it shows how any type of playstyle that they want to play for Sentinels, it works out for them in the long run too.
I think part of it also is that Dapper is kind of a troll sometimes. So I think he's feeling
doubt.
pretty confident that he's like, I'm going to make this work even with Odin. I'm not scared, worried, or concerned. Sinatra goes to this weapon all the time. More typically when he's playing the role of Sova. There's the ult being utilized as well. The rocket's going to come out. It's right behind Chemicals. That's the third on the round for Sinatra. And just like that, Sinatra sets the team up for success as Dapper comes in and picks up the split, the remaining 2 pins. It's a big map 1 victory.